This is my video for the Unit 6 case problems. This week we weren't asked to change a whole lot, so there was no changes to the event.java class nor the rental.java. It was only the event demo and rental demo that we actually did any changes. So I'm not going to go over my old code for those, but I will go over the changes that were made. So if we go over to event demo, the first thing we were asked to do was to create a loop for one of the events that says please come to my event for every time that there's a guest. I couldn't get Cengage to load for a while, and I was just going off memory, so I just went ahead and did it for the 3 events, and I didn't feel like deleting it out, so I put effort into it. So here we're creating a temporary variable I, and just using it as a count function for the for loop. So uh, as long as um, as long as the count is less than event number one's guest, and I use the get guest function to get that number, and we're going to add a count to that. So for every time it's less than this count, system out print event, and I just added all this stuff just so I could test and more accurately tell if my code was printing out correctly. So just event number, calling on it, getting the event number, doing my count. My count starts at 0, so that's why I have I plus 1 here, because 0 plus 1 is my first one, and so on and so on. Please come to my event, and it's the exact same for these two, except just with a different temporary variable. But so we go down here to the second thing we were asked. We were asked to modify the get guest method. So I go down here and I added final ends for minimum maximum guest amount, which is 5 and 100. This stayed the same. I did add a while loop. I did a do while loop at first, but realized why that wasn't working, so I switched it just to a while loop. So as long as guests are less than the guest amount, which is 5, or if guests are greater than the max guest amount, which is over 100, then we'll perform this loop. The number of guests must be between minimum 5 and maximum 100, and then it prompts you to re-enter the guest number for that event number, and then it returns it. So let's run that real quick. So we'll just say A1, we'll say 4 guests must be between 5 and 100, so we'll say there's 5. Number of the second event is B2, we'll say 6. And normally on C3, I show you an event with 50 or more people so that you can tell if the bool is working or not. But since that hasn't changed, I'm not going to waste time going over it. So we'll say 7 here. So it gives all the stuff out that we've been doing over the past few weeks. But then down here, it's iterating that code that I put in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times because there were 5 guests for event A1. For event V2, we entered 6 guests, did it 6 times. For the third, 7 times. So now we move on to rental demo, and again, no changes on rental Java, so I'm not going to go over it. Uh, okay, so again, this one, we were asked change the exact same things pretty much, except we're just changing our variables and methods around a little bit. So this time I did get Cengage to load so I could check the instructions again. So I just did it for temporary variable I, which is set to 0. As long as I is less than the hours that the rental is, and then I add 1 to it. So system out print contract number and get hours plus my count, using the temporary variable. Coupon good for 10% off next rental. So that'll go every time that for every hour that the rented rental 1 or contract 1 was rented out. We'll see here that this will print. The second thing was the same thing, minimum minutes and maximum minutes 60 and 7,200. Enter the total number of minutes and equipment rented, all that's the same. My while loop, minutes less than my minimum amount, minutes greater than my maximum amount, and it'll do the same thing where it just prompts you have to enter a valid value pretty much. So we'll go ahead and run that now. Okay, contract number A1, total number of minutes, we're going to say 59, because remember our minimum was 60. Number of minutes must be between 60 and 7,200, so we'll say 60. Enter the contract number for the second one, B2, we'll say 120. So that's, 2 hours. And C3, 180. So hit enter, 3 hours. So all that up here from last week. I'm not going to go through it. Uh, but 60 minutes is only 1 hour. So contract number one, and there's just my line count that I put in just for me, is just one coupon good for 10% off next rental. And that's it.